Today we're talking about this weird thing that's actually pretty common where you know what to eat, but you can't give up the snacking. So this came up the other day. A woman, she kind of started describing how her frustration about always going to crackers, and she'd get home from work, long day, stressful, and she would basically snack on crackers and she'd have dinner with her family, but she wouldn't eat very much because she'd been snacking all day after work. And she knew what to eat. It's not like she didn't know what to eat. She had, different options she could have chosen, but she always chose these crackers and this snacking. And it was like very frustrating because on one hand she knew, but on the other hand she kept making decisions that were in opposite of what she knew. And so how do we change our snacking habits? So there's three things I want to cover in today's little short, pretty quick video. One is understanding how these crackers, even though she feels guilty and she's eating them kind of secretly and a little stressfully, even though there's some negative feelings, she's actually addicted to the pleasure. We need to talk about pleasure because that's how habits form. So we're going to talk about pleasure, we're going to talk about habits, and then we're going to talk about how healthy foods, you can get pleasure from them. And it has nothing to do with taste. It's all about fullness and food satisfaction. You can get addicted to the pleasure of food satisfaction and fullness. And this is for snacking. So let's go ahead and dive in. If you do have any questions or anything, just feel free to comment or send me an email. Okay, so this woman, the pleasure. This is something I love asking people. And what I asked her, what are you getting out of this snacking habit? How is it pleasing you? How is it giving you positive emotions? What benefit are you getting out of it? And she replied, well, it tastes good. That's one. I like crackers, salty, they're good, I was like, yeah, that's good. What other benefits? Dig deep. And so we dug into some other benefits that she was getting from crackers. And these things we kind of brainstormed, and they were, time for herself. So this was a big one. It's like a reward. She's been working for other people. Her energy has been outward the whole day. And now this is a reward. It's time for her. That was a big one. She's carrying stress, and this is kind of just a way to get her mind to quiet down a little bit, to get her mind off of work. So, it's kind of like a wind down thing that has positive feelings of taste, and, there's a lot of good things that she's getting out of snacking. It's actually pretty pleasurable. And our brain, our bodies, our emotions, our subconscious systems that are way more powerful than our conscious mind, right? Our subconscious systems are way more powerful. Our subconscious loves pleasure. And so she's getting a lot of pleasure out of this. Now, how do habits form, right? So it's one thing to enjoy a cracker, but it's another thing to have this almost magnetic, almost this unstoppable pull. Like, it's almost like she's lead and the crackers are magnets, and she's being magnetized over there despite her best efforts to not do that. So the magnetism, it comes from the power of the subconscious brain, where the subconscious brain has developed a pattern, a routine, an expectation, a craving for that pleasure. And it knows if it eats those crackers, it will get the pleasure. This is not your conscious mind. This is not you. This is not what you typically think of as you. This is what makes your heart beat, right? Your heart just beats automatically. That's your subconscious brain. Your subconscious brain is magnetized towards pleasure. And so maybe in the beginning it wasn't as magnetized. She just came home from work and had a snack and was like, oh, that's nice. She does that 10 more times, 15 more times, and all of a sudden the brain has started to really make strong associations cause and effect relationships. Crackers equals pleasure. And so when the brain is feeling stressed and tired and overworked, those associations are right there. Crackers equal pleasure. It's running in the back of your mind. You can't really turn it off. And here's how we do, not turn it off, but start to create a new path. And that has to do not so this is why willpower fails. Before we get into the third principle of getting addicted to fullness, this is why willpower fails. You can't just stop eating crackers. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Like, yeah, for a day you can do it, but it doesn't work long term. Willpower, just trying to stop, it doesn't work. You have to work with the subconscious brain. And the subconscious brain is getting pleasure. It's addicted to pleasure. And the subconscious brain is way more powerful than you. So you absolutely need to find another source of pleasure. And that's where the fullness comes in. So how do we work with fullness? The bird's eye view is that fullness and food satisfaction can be and needs to be addicting. It needs to be highly pleasurable. So how this begins is we do two things. One, we pay attention to the pleasing sensations, the pleasing nature of getting full, and then the not so pleasing emotions, the unpleasant feelings of not getting full. So snacking, for example, it doesn't fill her up. She's snacking for the whole evening. It's like she's never satisfied. And what does that feel like? That's what I ask her. What does that feel like? That, like almost like being thirsty, your belly's constantly like hungry, you're always snacking. What's that feel like? And she's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel good. Boom. We need to start having her brain, instead of fixating on the pleasure of the crackers, but to see the whole picture. We need for her to kind of get that expansion. We need to see her, enlighten her perspective. We need to expand her perception to really see that these crackers there is that short burst of pleasure, but there's also this like constant unpleasant feeling. So we have the unpleasant feeling on this hand starting to become associated with the crackers. And then on the other hand, we're going to ask her to follow some basic nutritional principles, such as have the crackers in the beginning, but throw in some peanut butter and have some milk. Get some protein and fat in there as well. There's a variety of other things we can try out. But basically, instead of just eating crackers, we want her to get full. We want her to experiment. What foods make her full? Maybe it's yogurt and nuts, or yogurt and berries. Maybe it's whole wheat bread and peanut butter. It's not like we're opposed to crackers. It's like I said earlier, you can have peanut butter and crackers, but we want her to experiment with a variety of foods that get her to feel full, get her to feel satisfied. And the beautiful thing about food satisfaction is that it lasts like 1, 2, 3, 4 hours sometimes. And that feeling where you're running on clean energy, where you've had your snack and now you're living your life. She's starting to, instead of snacking all the time, she's starting to like go help with her kids' homework more. And so, because she's full, she doesn't feel drawn. And so this is a subtle sensation. This is the reason people miss it. Fullness is kind of quiet. You need to be on the lookout for it. You need to have that open mind. And so she's starting to really pay attention. Fullness feels good. It really does. At a biological level, it feels good to be full. And the freedom that this brings is helping her out. And so now we're working with energy. We're working with the subconscious mind. We're reprogramming. We're getting her addicted to fullness and food satisfaction because that feels a lot better. And then when she does feel pulled back into snacking, we just ask her to start tuning in. What's that like? It's kind of unpleasant, actually, being moderately hungry and feeling guilty. That's not pleasant, and so we're working with her emotions. All right, let me know your thoughts. Peace.